What is up and welcome back. If this is your first time watching, we are your Emerald Coast relocation team. In this video right here, it's definitely not going to be like a lot of our other videos. I am going to be talking about our own personal experience, our own personal perception before we did relocate into the Pensacola area. I love doing these videos because here's where I'm coming from. We moved here, it's been about a year now since we have moved into the Pensacola Metro area. And when we are consistently helping out so many of you who are relocating into this area, you have a lot of the same questions that we did before we moved here. And I think that kind of gives us the upper end. We have experienced what it's like moving from somewhere else into an area that we really didn't know too much about. And we had those questions. So I wanted to cover those questions that we personally had, and then also kind of go over some things that you guys are consistently asking us when we are showing you houses in the Emerald Coast. And I'm gonna tell you, like right off the top of my head, there's always two things that you guys are always asking us about. Number one being is, how close am I going to be to the beach if I want to live here? And the number two thing that you always ask us about is the schools in the area. Those are by far the top two questions we are asked by you guys when we are working with you down here. That actually segues into the first thing that I really thought when I was looking into the Pensacola Metro area is, how close am I going to be to the beach, and do people really live on the beach in the Pensacola area? I remember this almost like it was yesterday when we were first really kind of looking into this area. As we're looking from a map up above, right? And you see like the Pensacola area beach strip. You see the next one, which is like your Gulf Breeze Navarre area, that little peninsula. And then you got the mainland of Pensacola. I'm talking about just like from an above view. I was like, oh man, it looks like the beach. No one really lives on there. It looks like it's super thin. Yes, people really do live on Pensacola Beach. If you guys have watched our channel for the last couple months or have been watching for a while, you have seen us talk about this when we're comparing like Pensacola Beach to Navarre Beach. Yes, people do live out in the beach. And then there's the peninsula, right? When we're talking about like, you know, kind of your Gulf Breeze over into Navarre. And I was always curious about this. I was looking at that and I was like, so do we have to like live on the mainland? Is it like just super uber rich people who are going to be living over in that Gulf Breeze? And if people are out on Pensacola Beach, are they going to be the super uber rich people who are really living out there? And I could tell you from experience, because we chose Gulf Breeze. I would not say that it's a highly affluent area to choose this Gulf Breeze area. Now, if you do want to live out on Pensacola Beach, you're going to be paying a pretty penny. I think every time that we cover the prices, it is hard that you're going to find anything under $1 million when purchasing real estate over there. I will say that there is this stigma for anyone who does live out in the Gulf Breeze area. You know, we're pretty much, they call us the breezers. If you are on the mainland of Pensacola, it is thought of in this area as more of an affluent area. I don't really see it because there's a few areas over in Pensacola where it's highly affluent over there as well too, where you do have some high housing prices. And we personally, when we first started that conversation of moving into this area, and Trent was the very first guy, that's why we did bring him onto our team that we talked to. We were looking at Pensacola, the mainland of Pensacola, and after we expressed our concerns, what we were really looking for to him, he's like, hey, have you ever heard of Gulf Breeze? It's like, wait a second, tell me a little bit about it. I can see it on the map. So when we are talking about these two areas, don't be heavily influenced about the price points. But going back to the original question, yes, people do live on Pensacola Beach. If you want to check out one of our videos where we are talking about Pensacola, we will make sure to pop it up either here or there, or one of the sides. It'll probably pop up right over here. The second question that I did have before I had experienced Pensacola is, okay, so if people actually do live in that Gulf Breeze or Pensacola Beach area, what kind of amenities are there? Are there any grocery stores there? Is there any restaurants? Short answer to that question is restaurants, yes. And you're actually going to find some great restaurants out on Pensacola Beach. But if you're looking for grocery stores, you are going to have to go a little bit closer onto that Gulf Breeze Peninsula, where you're going to find your Publix and your Walmarts and your Winn-Dixie's. That's going to be where you have the majority of your grocery stores. We're out on Pensacola Beach, not so much. Now, the restaurants out on the beach obviously do cater much more to tourists. We did just get a Senior Frogs over there. If you're over in Gulf Breeze, you know, we have our local favorites that we love going to, but they're not as many. If you want to really experience a variety, a plethora of different restaurants, you're definitely gonna have to go more onto the mainland. There are some other varieties as well too if you want to go down into Navarre. But yes, we do have amenities out on this peninsula and Pensacola Beach. But if you are going to want to do that grocery shopping, you are going to have to travel from Pensacola Beach over into Gulf Breeze. The third question that I did have, because we did have exposure to Florida, is what is the weather and climate like in the Pensacola metro area? We do have a property more in South Florida. I guess it's more Central Florida, near Clearwater. And I remember every time we went down there, especially in the summertime, it seemed like it was so crazy hot. The humidity hit us and we're like, I don't know if I could ever live here.
This pop isn't working, Benny. I'm baking like a toasted cheese here. It's so hot here.
Because we had been searching on where we wanted to move next, and it was definitely further south. We had even looked into like Frisco, Texas, or some surrounding areas to Dallas, Texas. And then we were thinking Florida, but the only exposure that we had is like, man, we're coming from somewhere like Colorado where we have a true 4 seasons. Do we really want to go somewhere that is pretty much like your summer and then your mild summer? That's pretty much all you get. And yes, I know the temps do get a little bit lower down in Central Florida as opposed to like a mild summer. They break down. There's a few times our property is broken down into the 40s down in Largo right outside of Clearwater. We chose Pensacola though because we still wanted that weather fluctuation, right? Where we did experience some sort of seasons. Real quick guys, I'm gonna pop in here. If you are looking at purchasing real estate in the Emerald Coast, we are your top relocation team. Licensed real estate agents here to help you out with all your real estate needs. Give us a call or text at that phone number right below. Right below it there. We always answer. It doesn't matter date or time, but if you're not quite ready to purchase, make sure you follow along by giving us a thumbs up. Subscribe button, notification bell that we notified every single time that we put out a brand new video. All right, let's get back. Now, if you're coming here to get like your annual or a couple snowfalls, definitely do not come down here because we do not get snow down here. I can't say after living here that, you know, we did experience some temperatures down into the 30s and it actually felt pretty good, especially after experiencing a full summer of this, you know, higher weather here. And even then, it's like in the summertime, the hottest that we've really seen is like maybe the mid 90s, but right now, typically in the summertime, we're looking at like high 80s, low 90s. It really isn't that bad. Your body does end up getting used to it to where it really doesn't feel that bad. Guys, I drive around a topless, doors off Jeep through the summertime and I'll crank the AC on from time to time, but it really isn't that bad as long as I'm going, I guess, because when I'm just sitting there, I start sweating pretty bad. Your body does acclimate when you do come down here. Like I said, I came from Colorado where I was not used to these kinds of summers. This summer, we could already tell so much of a difference from last summer. The fourth question that I had, and this actually kind of correlates with the first question, is how far are certain places from the beach? If I want to be within a 30-minute drive to the beach, moving down into this Pensacola Metro area, where should I live? Where should I relocate to? What city is best for me? So I pretty much just looked up some quick map times. Like I said, we chose Gulf Breeze because personally, we wanted to be 15 minutes from the beach. We wanted to be able to just pick it up and be like, you know what? I'm done working for the day. Let's just go head out to the beach real quick. I didn't want to be any more than that 15 minutes. That's why we did choose Gulf Breeze, but I know there are some concerns being close to that water with, you know, hurricanes and such happening. And so a lot of people are like, all right, if I go mainland in, where do I need to be to make sure that I am within an hour of the beach? So I just wrote a few things down here. Majority of it's like your northern Pensacola Metro area, but I threw an outlier out there too, just to kind of give you an idea of just how easily it would be to get to a beach from kind of this western portion of the Panhandle. So let's talk about Crestview. Crestview, you'd have to go down to Destin. From Crestview, which is like northeast of Pensacola, it's going to take you about an hour without tolls to get down to Destin. If you do want to pay that toll, it will break that down, chop off probably about 10 minutes. Let's look at Milton now. So Milton is like, I'd say right on the edge of the Pensacola Metro area. It's going to take you about 48 minutes from the heart of downtown Milton to get down into Pensacola Beach. Now that's the heart of Milton. There are a lot of outlying areas in Milton currently right now that are getting built out, that are getting newer developments. So if you choose to be a little bit further west in Milton, it won't take you as long, but from the heart of downtown Milton, 48 minutes. Now if you go a little bit further west and we're looking at Pace, you're looking at about a 40-minute drive over into Pensacola Beach. And then I went pretty much like on the northernmost portion of the Pensacola Metro area, kind of that Beulah area, you know, just straight north of downtown Pensacola. It'll take you the same about 40 minutes in order to get to Pensacola Beach. Quick note on that, these times do not accommodate for the tourist traffic that you may experience going over the bridge into Pensacola Beach. Now the 3 mile doesn't really back up all that much. Majority of the time it's the bridge when you're going from Gulf Breeze over into Pensacola Beach. It might back up from time to time, really depending on what time of year it is. You know, if you're right around 4th of July, you better watch out, especially Blue Angels. It might take you a couple hours to get across that bridge. Outside of that though, just typical tourist season, I'd say you might hit a little bit of traffic and it'll take you about 15 minutes to get across that bridge. It really isn't that bad in tourist season. So let's say if you're all the way over up in Milton, instead of planning that 48 minutes, I'd plan closer to an hour if you are trying to get down to Pensacola Beach during that hot tourist season. The fifth question that I did have is, what is the terrain like here? Is it going to be, are there going to be rolling hills? Is it going to be a bunch of trees? What does it really look like here? I came from Colorado, where I look out my back window and I just see the beautiful Rocky Mountains right there. I can tell you, this was a huge shock when we came here because it is flat. The average elevation in Pensacola is 102 feet above sea level. It is super flat here, guys, so don't expect any hardcore hiking trails. Yes, if you go up in the Pace and Milton, you get some walking or biking trails up there, but there really isn't that much elevation. It is super flat here. You got your tall evergreen trees, a lot more evergreen trees than I would have ever expected. I thought moving from Colorado, I was gonna kind of get away from these super tall trees and all the pine cones and all the pine needles. Not so much. There are pine trees all over out here, more pine trees than palm trees by far. It's also because kind of looking at this area, just like I said, my initial just kind of mapping it and Googling and stuff like that, I thought it was going to be a lot more swampy here. I was thinking more in the back of my mind for some reason, more like Louisiana and such, and it really isn't that swampy here. I mean, yes, you do have certain areas where it might feel like that, but it really isn't that swampy here, guys. That is actually something that we personally enjoyed. We're like, hey, it's really not that bad. There's not a bunch of swamplands here and there and everywhere. That was definitely a delightful surprise that it really wasn't as swampy as I thought it might have been. Number 6, this is probably, I told you our first 2 questions that we typically get answered about schools and also being close to the beach is hurricanes. Where do I need to live to make sure that I can avoid the hurricanes? Let me just throw some quick stats at you. So since 1975, Pensacola has been directly affected by 8 hurricanes, and there's 3 of them within the 2000s that really affected the Pensacola area. And so like the biggest one obviously was Ivan, because it was a Cat 5 hurricane that hit in 2004 that caused some extreme damage here in the Pensacola Metro area. Then a year after that, you had the Category 3 Hurricane Dennis. That one definitely didn't do near as much damage. That one was in 2005. And then the last one that did cause some damage was Sally. Sally happened in 2020, and that one was only a Cat 2 hurricane. There are still some properties around here that were affected by Sally. And if we get Trent on here, because Trent tells me all the time, he is holding firm on his 15-year rule, that he thinks that like a hardcore Category 5 or a hurricane that will do a lot of damage hits about every 10 to 15 years. And we'll see if that holds up. Like when Beryl first started, down south of Florida, we're wondering, because the water temperatures are pretty warm right now here in the Gulf. We're like, man, is it going to take a turn up? It looks like it's not going to do that, but Trent, he tells us, like, I'm telling you, man, it's like, I'm pretty sure every 10 to 15 years, kind of expect that damage. Another question that we get asked here is whether or not Ian did affect us here. And the answer is no, we didn't get affected by Ian. The surfers had a blast out there, because it created a little bit larger of waves when they're out there and stuff, but we did not get affected by Ian. It is an unfortunate what happened down to South Florida with Ian. Our property got a little bit of it that was outside of Clearwater, but we did not get affected by Hurricane Ian here in the Pensacola area. And the final question that I really did have, and this, I wouldn't say this is the most important question. It's definitely something that we wondered about, because where we came from, it was all brand new, like brand new suburbs, brand new shopping malls, brand new everything surrounding us. Is how new of an area we were going to be moving into. Is it something that's older, really hasn't caught up? And we have mentioned this in so many of our videos here, where it is not that new here. It is definitely spotty here. You have a few areas, Pace and Milton is getting a little bit more of this, of these newer subdivisions. You got the 9 Mile area, they're building up a little bit, like your Beulah, Cantonment area. We are finally getting a Costco, it looks like, up by 9 Mile, so that's super exciting. I know we just met with some clients this last week and like, oh, you guys are getting Costco, you keep talking about Costco. We're like, yep, pretty excited about that one. All right, cool guys. Like I said, this was more of just a personal experience story, because every single time that we talk to you guys, we feel you, because we did the exact same thing where we moved into an area that we really knew nothing about. And that was our passion for starting this channel, to really kind of come from an outsider's perspective. We actually have experience from both ends, where we had the channel in Denver and we didn't really know the people who were relocating in Denver were going through, because we had lived there our entire lives. And so we could kind of share a little bit of that with you. We feel your pain when you have these questions, when you have these concerns, when relocating to this area. Guys, if you are looking at purchasing real estate in the Emerald Coast, give us a call or text at that phone number right below. Right below it there, we always answer. It doesn't matter date or time, but if you're not quite ready to purchase, make sure you follow along by giving us a thumbs up, hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, where you're notified of the latest stuff that we bring you about the Emerald Coast. Until next time, we love ya. Bye.